We often talk about muscle loss after the age of 50 as if it's just a matter of not getting enough protein. And while protein is essential, no one's denying that, it's not the full picture. In fact, this overemphasis on protein has led many people to overlook the deeper biological reasons why muscle actually begins to deteriorate with age. And when we miss the root cause, we chase the wrong solution. Here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. As we age, our bodies go through a slow but steady shift in hormonal balance. Testosterone and growth hormone, two of the most critical drivers for muscle protein synthesis, begin to decline. But it's not just hormones. It's the mitochondria, the energy factories inside our cells, that start to lose efficiency. Think about that. The very engines that power our muscle cells become sluggish, less responsive, and more vulnerable to oxidative stress. When that happens, it doesn't matter how much protein you eat. If your cells can't utilize it effectively, you're not rebuilding anything. This is what many people miss. Muscle loss isn't just a nutritional problem. It's a cellular signaling problem. It's a metabolic communication breakdown. Your muscles are essentially being told, subtly but repeatedly, that regeneration is no longer a priority. And once that message is reinforced by inflammation, by stress, by poor sleep, by micronutrient deficiencies, it becomes the dominant pattern. The body shifts from a growth-oriented state into a preservation mode. And in preservation mode, muscle becomes expendable. That shift, by the way, isn't just physical, it's psychological. Many people in their 50s and beyond start to accept weakness as an inevitable part of aging. They feel their energy drop, and they unconsciously begin to scale back their ambitions. Fewer workouts, less movement, a little more sitting. They stop challenging their body, and with that, the brain reinforces the body's decline, not out of laziness, but because the organism senses this is the new normal. But the truth is, this decline isn't inevitable. It's an adaptive response to chronic signals of dysfunction. And the good news is that we can send different signals. We can shift the narrative. But to do that, we have to stop focusing only on macronutrients like protein and start looking at what the cell actually needs to repair and rebuild. This is where minerals, particularly magnesium, come into play. But before we even go there, it's crucial to understand that if your muscle is deteriorating, it's not because you're eating wrong. It's because your internal wiring, the way your body processes energy, recovers from stress, and handles inflammation, has been disrupted. And that disruption happens silently, over decades. It's subtle, it creeps in. You don't feel it happening until one day you can't recover from a workout the way you used to. Or you notice your strength has plateaued, or worse, regressed, despite doing all the right things. And that's frustrating, right? Because it feels like you're doing what you're supposed to, eating well, maybe even working out, but the progress isn't there. That's when you have to start asking deeper questions. You have to move from a surface-level understanding of muscle growth, just eat more protein, to a systems-level view. What is the quality of my recovery? What's the state of my hormonal and mitochondrial health? Are my cells inflamed or energized? When you frame it this way, the path forward becomes clearer. You realize that muscle loss isn't a punishment of age. It's a signal, a symptom that your biology is out of alignment and alignment can be restored. But it starts with understanding that your muscle health after 50 isn't a simple calorie equation. It's a conversation between your brain, your gut, your hormones, your cells. And like any conversation, the tone matters. You can't just shout more protein and expect everything to fall into place. You have to listen to what your body is asking for, and very often, what it's asking for is energy efficiency, better sleep, less chronic stress, and yes, key minerals that help regulate these functions. When you address those layers, protein becomes effective again. Training starts to work again. You regain not just strength, but vitality. So the next time someone tells you to eat more protein to fight muscle loss, remember, it's not wrong, but it's incomplete. The real path to rebuilding begins by correcting the cellular signals that tell your body how to use that protein in the first place. Shift the signal and the body will follow. Because ultimately your body isn't broken, it's just waiting for the right conditions to rebuild itself. Give it those conditions, and age stops being a barrier. It becomes a platform for mastery. Now that we've reframed the conversation around muscle loss after 50, not just as a protein deficiency, but as a breakdown in cellular signaling, it naturally leads us to ask, what's actually responsible for keeping those cellular signals healthy and efficient? One of the most overlooked yet essential components is magnesium. Magnesium isn't flashy. It doesn't have the same cultural weight as protein powders or pre-workout supplements. You don't see athletes shouting about it on social media, but here's the reality. Magnesium is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions in the human body. That's not marketing hype, that's cellular biology. It regulates everything from muscle contraction and relaxation to ATP production, insulin sensitivity, and the stability of your nervous system. And when magnesium levels are low, and they often are, especially in people over 50, those reactions become sluggish, inconsistent, and error-prone. This matters deeply for muscle repair, because rebuilding muscle isn't just about stimulating it with exercise or feeding it with nutrients. It's about creating the right internal environment, the biochemical foundation where repair and growth are even possible. And magnesium is a cornerstone of that foundation. Let's talk energy for a second. Every time you move a muscle, you're using ATP adenosine triphosphate as fuel. But ATP doesn't actually work in your body unless it's bound to magnesium. In fact, the active form of ATP, the one your cells can use, is called MG-ATP. Without magnesium, your muscle cells can't effectively access or utilize the energy they need to recover. That fatigue you feel after a workout that lingers a little too long, that could be poor magnesium availability. There's also the issue of inflammation. As we age, chronic low-grade inflammation becomes more common. It's one of the silent drivers of disease and physical decline. What most people don't realize is that magnesium is a natural anti-inflammatory agent. It helps regulate cytokine production and immune response, both of which play key roles in post-exercise recovery. So if your body is inflamed, sore, or slow to heal after movement, it's not always a matter of training harder or eating more. It might mean your cells are under-equipped to repair themselves. Another layer here is magnesium's impact on the nervous system. This is often overlooked in fitness discussions, but it's critical. Recovery isn't just physical, it's neurological. Your nervous system has to downregulate after stress. If it doesn't, your body stays in a sympathetic or fight-or-flight state. In that state, muscle breakdown is prioritized over growth. Magnesium plays a major role in parasympathetic activation, the part of your nervous system responsible for rest and recovery. It supports GABA activity, helps lower cortisol, and promotes deep restorative sleep. And sleep, as we know from countless studies, is where the bulk of muscular repair and memory consolidation takes place. Now here's the kicker. Most people over 50 are deficient in magnesium and they don't even know it. Soil depletion, processed foods, chronic stress, medications, all of these strip the body of magnesium or impair its absorption. So even if someone is eating healthy, they may still be undernourished at the cellular level. The symptoms are easy to dismiss: fatigue, restless legs, muscle cramps, irritability, sleep disruption, but they're signals that the system is missing something essential. We also have to consider the psychological side. When people feel fatigued or weak, they often internalize it as personal failure. They blame age. They assume they're just getting old. But what if it's not age? What if it's biochemistry? That shift in perspective is empowering, because while you can't stop time, you can replenish magnesium. You can support your cellular recovery systems, and you can begin to experience strength and energy as something that returns, not something that only fades. The goal here isn't to glorify magnesium as a miracle cure. It's not. But it's a necessary foundation. Without it, everything else becomes inefficient. Your workouts don't land. Your protein doesn't absorb optimally. Your energy stagnates. But when magnesium is present in the right amount and the right form, you start to see your biology respond again. You sleep better, you recover faster, you move with more ease, the body starts to trust itself again, and from that trust, strength is rebuilt. So if you're over 50 and wondering why your efforts aren't paying off, why the recovery is slower, the strength gains smaller, the fatigue more persistent. Don't just add another scoop of protein. Ask a deeper question: what is my body missing at the cellular level? Because sometimes the answer isn't more effort, it's smarter inputs. And magnesium may be the missing piece that makes everything else start working again. Eve established how critical magnesium is, not just as a muscle supplement, but as a cellular regulator. The natural question becomes, how do you actually use it to rebuild muscle effectively after 50? Because it's not as simple as buying a generic supplement and hoping for the best. Like anything that affects your biology at a foundational level, how you take it, when, in what form, and in what context matters just as much as the fact that you take it at all. Let's start with the form. Magnesium comes in many variations: oxide, citrate, glycinate, malate, threonate, and more. Each one has a different function, and more importantly, a different level of bioavailability. Magnesium oxide, for example, is common and cheap, but poorly absorbed. It passes through the gut quickly and doesn't make much of an impact on muscular or neurological health. In contrast, magnesium glycinate is highly absorbable and well tolerated. It has a calming effect on the nervous system, making it particularly effective for muscle recovery and sleep regulation. Magnesium citrate, on the other hand, is useful for relieving muscle cramps and supporting digestion, both of which can indirectly influence muscular repair and nutrient absorption. So choosing the right form isn't about what's trendy, it's about matching the delivery system to the biological need. If your primary concern is muscle rebuilding, then glycinate or malate might be your best bet. If you're also struggling with cognitive fatigue or sleep quality, threonate might offer additional benefits by crossing the blood-brain barrier. The more precise you are with form, the more targeted and effective the outcome becomes. Then there's timing. Your body's magnesium needs fluctuate throughout the day, particularly in response to stress, physical exertion, and circadian rhythm. Taking magnesium at night has been shown to enhance deep sleep, critical for muscle repair, hormone production, and neurological reset. But if you're engaging in resistance training or high physical output during the day, adding a smaller dose post-workout paired with recovery nutrition can help stabilize muscular contractions and reduce delayed onset soreness. Think of it like fueling your system before breakdown occurs. You're reinforcing recovery capacity in real time, not just after the damage is done. But here's a deeper truth that's often missed. Magnesium works best in synergy. It doesn't operate in isolation. For magnesium to be fully effective, it needs cofactors, other nutrients that support its absorption and function. Vitamin D is a prime example. Without sufficient vitamin D, your intestines can't absorb magnesium efficiently. And without magnesium, vitamin D can't activate in its usable form. They depend on each other. It's a biological partnership, not a solo act. The same goes for exercise itself. Magnesium doesn't rebuild muscle on its own. It enables your body to respond to the mechanical signals of resistance training. Without physical stress on the muscle, without tension, load, and challenge, there's no stimulus for growth, no reason for the body to rebuild. So magnesium doesn't replace training, it makes training matter. It helps convert the stress of physical exertion into a signal for adaptation rather than just fatigue. This is where a philosophical shift starts to emerge. Most people over 50 are told to take supplements as a form of defense, protect your bones, support your heart, slow the decline. It's all reactive, but when you use magnesium in the way we're talking about, intentionally, intelligently, in the context of training and sleep, you're not reacting. You're building, you're actively shaping your biology toward resilience, not just preventing breakdown. And that change in mindset matters, because if you approach your body like it's already in decline, it will behave accordingly. But if you treat your biology as adaptive, dynamic, and still capable of growth, your behavior follows. You begin to invest in practices that build capacity, not just buffer loss. You start treating recovery as an art, not a chore. And you learn that supplements like magnesium are not a crutch, but a lever, a tool to amplify the signals you're already sending through movement, rest, and intention. So no, magnesium isn't a magic pill, but it is a powerful amplifier. And when you use it with the right training, at the right time, in the right form, and in synergy with the right nutrients, you shift the entire trajectory of how your body ages. You stop managing decline and you start engineering performance.